This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz, and I'm very excited to be speaking with Mary Elizabeth Winstead about A Gentleman in Moscow. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
Good, good. I really enjoyed watching you starring opposite Ewan in Fargo in season three, and it's nice to see you reunited on screen again. What is it like working with somebody who's a very big part of your personal life?
It's amazing. I just felt so lucky the whole time, to be able to work with him for one, because he's such an incredible actor and I just enjoy working with him from that standpoint. He's so much fun to just play these scenes with, and then to have the kind of deeper level of getting to spend every day with my spouse, who I'm often away from when we're working, is incredible, like beyond you know, description. And then also the kind of deepening of the relationship, getting to play a couple on the show, and just the ease of that, because we are a couple in real life. I mean, obviously we're actors and we're being these characters, and we're not, there's no confusion about that. We don't, we're not imagining, we don't feel like it's real. We know that we are these characters, but there's an ease to being able to play a scene with someone that you completely trust and that you love. And there's really nothing better than that. It makes it just even more fun and easy and enjoyable in every way.
I was excited at the chance to talk to you, but I found out about it right before I watched the show, and then I watched the first episode, and I was
Oh,
like, "What's
that.
going on? She's not in the show. Did I watch the wrong thing?" This show does interesting things though with time in terms of you really covers so much. Did you shoot chronologically, and what was that whole experience like?
Yeah, yeah, we did shoot chronologically, which was so helpful, considering the aging process that we all go through. And there are some really big jumps in time, so you have to have an awareness of a little bit of what's kind of happened in between, and where are we, and all of that. But for the most part, it was a very natural progression, and it was really lovely to get to kind of see these characters, their kind of inner life reflected by the wear and tear, the changing of the eras with the clothes and the graying and the slight, wrinkling coming up. But it was all done in a very beautiful and subtle way. None of it was heavy-handed. It all felt really natural, and it was really kind of beautiful to get to grow with these characters that way.
Consider yourself a history buff, and is this an era that you're familiar with and the geography of it all?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm particularly. I mean, I love the history of it. I think it's really fascinating, but I'm certainly not an expert on it by any means. Um, but I did really love what I learned through this process. I mean, even the book, reading the book itself is really, it's so rich in terms of the information and the history that it kind of lays out. And then getting to kind of just kind of figure out who these people are underneath it all. I mean, really, it's about kind of the micro of these people and what they're going through, set against the backdrop of this very big time in history. So it was great to get to kind of hone in on those details ultimately.
This book and the show are substantially different.
Uh, no, I mean, I think that Ben, the creator of the show and the writer, definitely took some liberties, and um, you know, kind of focused on some things that in the book were maybe a bit more mysterious. I mean, my character is one of those things. In the book, she's very mysterious. There's huge gaps of time where she's not in it at all, and you kind of hear a little bit about what she's been up to, but you don't really get to know or understand it from her perspective really at all. So the show kind of brought that a little bit more forward, which was very fun for me. But I think the spirit of the book is so in the show, and so many of kind of the most important things in the book for so many readers, I think, are really expressed beautifully in the show. And so there's just a few little deviations that it takes.
There's obviously a lot of aging makeup, but also I feel like every time we see her character, she just looks different just in terms of, hairstyle and costumes. Do you have a favorite look for her from throughout the show?
I loved it all. I loved every stage so much. I loved the kind of getting to wear the history of all of those pieces, and there was a lot of vintage pieces that I did wear. Some things were kind of built for me or built for the character by the costume department, which was just amazing as well. They were so talented. But I think it's just so fun when you get to put on an actual vintage piece and you feel even more kind of like the character, like you've lived in these clothes. So I loved, I think, the early episodes where I get to be this fabulous diva movie star. As the series progresses, she kind of loses that status a bit. So she's still, I think, very elegant, and I loved the clothes all the way through the end, but they get a little bit less colorful, a little bit less vibrant, a little bit less bombastic, um, and a bit more, soft and worn in. And but I just, like I said, I just loved the way that that reflected her and what was going on in her life, and kind of told a story. So it's hard to choose, but I think, I felt the most glamorous in the early days.
Well, thinking about your roles, especially the other roles that you have on TV this year, like Ahsoka and Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, they're very memorable just in terms of, I think we'd call it, I don't know, headgear, whatever we call it for Hera, and then for Ramona, just the hair and the everything. Do you find that you gravitate towards these roles that are very heavily made up and
It's
prosthetic,
really
etc.?
funny. I'd never really thought about that. No, I think that's probably pretty coincidental that, yeah, every character that I've played lately has had some sort of either a wig or, cartoon hair color, or or just entirely different color altogether, my whole body. Um, but no, I don't think I gravitate towards it. I guess in a way I've always liked the challenge of of trying to make a moment or a scene just feel really real and grounded, even if there's really sort of nutty things going on all around you, including, the things you might be wearing, or, the sort of green screen or whatever it is that might be going on. I like the challenge of having to kind of work through that and make it totally real, and then sort of forget about it. So I guess in a way I am drawn to it, but not that I'm super conscious of in that regard.
Well, I think while A Gentleman in Moscow certainly, appeals to a historical crowd, you've worked in a lot of other very popular franchises like Fargo, Cloverfield, Die Hard, Star Wars, then, DC Extended Universe. Do you like coming to that kind of thing where there's sort of an audience built in already, or do you feel like it's nice to start with something that might have sort of a fresh set of eyes on it?
I guess the great thing about coming into something with a built-in audience is that there's a built-in audience who will be interested in it. I mean, that's certainly, for somebody who hopes that somebody will watch what you do. That's very exciting to get to step into something um, that somebody already feels is special in some way. But what comes with that is pressure. So that's also really, really scary. So it's kind of a twofold kind of thing. Um, so I love it all. I think it's really exciting to get to do something that is totally fresh and new, because we don't really get to see it as much these days as we used to. So that's also really special to get to find a script that a writer has just written and bring it to life. And hope that somebody discovers it and loves it, and that it turns into something. So it's yeah, I don't think I could choose one over the other. I think both are play kind of important roles, especially in nowadays what we're doing.
But when I knew I'd be speaking with you, the first thing I thought about was not a show, but a movie, which is all about Nina, which I think fits that bill
Yeah.
of being sort of a unique voice and not, its own kind of thing. What memories do you have from that film, and how relevant do you think it is today?
I love that film so much, and thank you for bringing it up. I don't know that very many people saw it, but it was such a special experience for me. The writer director Eva Vivas, it's kind of based on her story, and it just was really meaningful to kind of go on that journey with her and getting to tell that story. And yeah, it will always hold a special place for me, and I'll always hope that people like you bring it up so that maybe somebody finds it and watches it. Uh, I think it was incredibly relevant at the time. It was sort of really coincidental. It came out sort of right around the sorry, I'm getting FaceTime. Right around the Me Too movement, and it's a story that kind of handles a lot of those topics in a way. So that was just it was kind of an unexpected thing to have those conversations be happening while we were talking about the movie and promoting the movie, and going, wow, this is sort of a part of that, which was really special. And I hope that it remains relevant for whoever needs to see it.
Well, I'll bring up something that I assume you heard about less, which I was pretty sure you were in, and I like had to double check to make sure, and that's Brain Dead, which I feel like
Ah,
it's a great comedy, not maybe not a great comedy, a decent comedy about, what we would be like if we really thought we were all actually, aliens and bugs or whatever. What was that show like compared to everything else you've done?
so much fun. It just was so much fun. It's a really silly show, but also really smart. I think it was really, tackling politics and the White House and the way things get done or don't get done, and sort of how ridiculous it all is. And I think the absurdity of it was really speaking to the reality of that world and that situation. And so I loved it. I had such a great time. Robert and Michelle King are just so great, and just kind of set such a great tone for a really wonderful set to be on. And I just felt like I was having a blast every day. I love that kind of I guess absurd comedy and mixing of genres, and with the kind of smarts thrown in there in terms of what it was saying about politics. I thought it was fantastic.
I think I see there's comedy in everything you do. Sometimes it's much more sort of outright, but then it's sometimes, a little bit subtler. Do you look for that in a role that you want to have some sort of, warmth and invitation, I guess?
Yeah, I think that always just feels more reflective of some truth to me. And I think I think authenticity is what I'm always drawn to. And I think if there's not a sense of humor to something, sometimes it doesn't feel quite true for me. And also those are just the things that I like the most as a viewer as well. I love actors and performers and writers and directors who can marry comedy with other, genres. They could make you laugh and make you cry and make you jump in your seat. And I think the marriage of all of those things is really when the projects are the best.
Well, I'm glad you brought up what you like as a viewer, because that was going to be my last question for you. We love awards here at Awards Buzz. Is there a particular performance or show that you've seen recently that you think, aside from A Gentleman in Moscow, is particularly awards worthy?
Wow. I just watched Baby Reindeer, which I thought was amazing. And that definitely kind of hits all those things for me in terms of it starts out seeming like it's a comedy, and then it just kind of gets darker and more complex and more heartbreaking. So that definitely kind of ticks the boxes for me in terms of what I'm drawn to for sure.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It's great to dive into all of your work.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Nice to talk to you too.